So 10 things your website should do for your users. What we're going to do is we're going to talk through a lot of examples. We have some good and bad examples of a lot of the concepts that we're talking about today. If you have a question, put it in the chat or in the questions module of Zoom. We have time at the end for questions, but we're collecting them, and if we see them as we go, we'll make sure that we leave time for those at the end. So I always like to start with a quote. So I love this one. Good design is like a refrigerator. When it works, no one notices, but when it doesn't, it sure stinks. This was Irene Alf, former head of UX at Google and Yahoo, one of the early pioneers of UX in Silicon Valley. And I love it. I won't spend too much time on it, but you're going to see some examples of stuff that really stinks in this one, and some stuff, it's unfortunate that when we do our job well, no one really notices, but you sure do notice when it's not great. So these are the 10 things. What's most important? Scannable content, mobile, simple navigation, make it easy to get in touch with you, personalize but appropriately, the importance of SEO, clear calls to action, accessibility, and fresh, valuable content. So with that, number one, this isn't actually a website. This is a banner at a conference I snapped a picture of a few years back. It's just one of my favorite examples of the most buzzwordy, meaningless marketing content I've ever seen. Industry-leading cloud-based multi-channel solution that seamlessly integrates payments, inventory, and data. Great, but what do you do? Number one, this, we're avoiding buzzwords, avoiding jargon. Just make it clear what people want to find. What does your audience want when they come to the site? Who are they? What are they looking for? And are you speaking to them without jargon? And most importantly, helping them find what's most important when they first come to that site. So Indeed is my first example for helping users find what's most important. So they've got very clearly this, call to action up front for finding a job, what job, where, find jobs, super clear. And then the secondary actions that they know users are looking to do are here as well. So post your resume, employers, get started, all very clear, content and links, no jargon, no buzzwords. And it's just, again, these are the three things that we know people are looking to do. And then you can start getting into other things like popular searches. But just love kind of the simplicity of this one to helping people find what's most important at Indeed. What's most important for them is helping people find a job. So not everybody has the simplicity, kind of the simple nature of Indeed, right? Of being a job site. A lot of us are dealing with very, very complex sites with lots and lots of stakeholders and priorities, but it's still important to help people find the most important thing. And we're going to talk through, navigation and calls to action, and a lot of these things are in here. But number one, always just make sure that what's most important stands out and is clear on your site.
One of my favorite things to remember, especially when we're doing a site review, is try to have in mind what is each page's main job. If you can answer the question of what is this page for, and make sure that it is using design techniques like layout and white space and color and size and headings to get that point across, you're a lot of the way there.
Absolutely. And that actually gets to our next one, scannable content. So this example is plainlanguage.gov. When I was researching this topic, I actually discovered for the first time that the federal government has specific guidelines and actually passed legislation to make sure that every federal government website uses plain language and avoids jargon and follows these guidelines. So I'm going to bounce kind of in and out of some of these examples. So this plain language site it's practicing what they preach, and it's a really great resource. So plainlanguage.gov. Guidelines on being concise, guidelines on being scannable, designed for reading, limit the sections, using bullets. And this, why I love this example is because it is doing all the things that they're telling folks to do, right? They're practicing what they preach. Large, large subheads, you know, very clear what this page is about, lots of white space to give people kind of space to read. And, you know, it's simple typography and fonts, right? So really just really good example of clean layout, clean, you know, sections chunked up into bullets. You know, people don't read a full page, they scan. And so this idea of, you know, lots of headers and bullets to help chunk up the information, it makes it really, really easy for people to scan. Again, one idea per paragraph, lots of white space. So it's, anyway, we try to practice what we preach as well. And we have helped folks do this, really embrace this idea of scannable content, getting them to the thing that matters. And we're going to talk about accessibility, but this also helps with accessibility as well.
It sure does. Are we ready for number 3?
We're on 3.
All right. So number 3 is show up in the most relevant searches. So the idea is you can bake search engine optimization into a site by careful structuring and navigation design. It's SEO is, we're going to talk about that separately, but it's an art and a science. The changes that Google makes to its algorithms drive so much economic activity, it's not even funny. We help companies optimize in many ways, but one of the most important ways is the way that you structure the site navigation, because the links on your site, Google crawls your pages and decides what's important and decides what your site is about, partly based on the navigation design. So I wanted to show you, we've done a good job with this with one of our favorite clients. It's San Antonio Orthopedic Group. Because we baked in their physicians and their specialties in their navigation, they naturally rank highly for local searches for those specialties like hand surgeon or knee replacement. Careful navigation design has baked in search engine optimization for those folks. It's also really important to optimize with Google My Business, especially if you're a local business, and other review sites and listing sites. But watching these things, if we'll go to the next slide, watching these things periodically is something that we recommend and we do for our clients. We have to keep a watch of who else is ranking for what you're trying to rank for. So you need to periodically do searches for the types of searches that you're coming up for, the way that people are finding your site. And just make sure you understand what's going on. In a recent project we've been working on with sanantonio.gov, we're helping them with their usability of their vendor portal, people who want to register with a city as a vendor. And one of the things we uncovered was with search, which is how a lot of people start out these days, there are competing listings, including some ads for paid services that a vendor doesn't have to sign up for a paid service to be a sanantonio.gov vendor, but it kind of looks like they do if you're not paying attention. So it's just good to keep a watch of who's showing up in the searches that you show up in.
So number 4, personalize appropriately.
So Amazon is our favorite example for personalization. They started off small, but they've always been a very data-driven experience. So very early on in Amazon, they would give you things, people who bought this also bought this other stuff. These things are frequently bought together. Personalization is wonderful when it's doing what you want it to do. But I'm guessing that you guys have had the experience that I've had, that I go one time to buy a baby shower gift, and then all of a sudden my Amazon feed is full of baby items, and that's not really my thing. I just bought this one baby thing. You would hope that Amazon would pay attention that I told them this was going to be a gift. But sometimes you get oversteered on that kind of stuff. So the point here is personalize wisely. Make sure that you know and you're comfortable with what you're doing. That's a fairly innocuous example. It's not going to chase me away from Amazon if they show me too many crib bumper pads for a while. But every once in a while, there can be a really important brand damage done with bad personalization. So here, I'm a Netflix subscriber, and Netflix is trying to provide me an easy way for me and my family members to personalize our experiences. The problem with that is it requires whoever's driving the TV to choose the right profile when they're going in. And I would love to talk to some of my folks, friends who work at Netflix, and find out how much they think that's working. Because in my household, people just push past this and they don't always take the time to change to the right profile. Another less innocuous example was Shutterfly. Now, this is an email campaign. They sent out an email blast saying, congratulations on your new baby. The problem was not everybody who they sent to, their data was not accurate. So they sent to a bunch of people who either didn't have a baby or even worse, were struggling with fertility issues. If you'll go to the next slide for me. There was some backlash on this. So it starts off with, oh, I don't remember having a baby, haha. And then to the one on the bottom where she's saying, just ruined my day. Thanks for the reminder that I have no baby. If you're struggling with fertility issues, it's a very painful thing. So my recommendation on this one is to run what we call negative use cases. So if you'll just take a moment when you're designing a personalization issue or feature and think about what could go wrong with this. Thinking about things like diversity or just what could have happened. The birthday stuff that comes up in Facebook when you have just lost a loved one, the birthday stuff can be really jarring.
And the other thing we help folks do is to structure these as small tests. So if you are starting a new personalization campaign, for example, Shutterfly, this campaign, or a new personalization feature on your site, it's really important to test it with a small audience first, because if Shutterfly had done that with this rather than sending out a big nationwide campaign, it would have limited the damage. This backlash would have been caught early and seen by a few folks, but the company would have been able to pull it back so that it didn't go out to thousands and thousands of people. So that's that test and learn idea with small tests whenever you're getting into anything that could have, again, negative use cases. It's hard to think of all the negative use cases that could be out there. And so it's important to structure these in a way that you're going to find them early. All right, number 5, make it easy to get in touch with you. I love this Zappos example. So Zappos is a shoe and clothing brand. They were acquired by Amazon a few years back because of their kind of customer-centric culture really matching with Amazon's. But this available 24/7 at our 800 number, right up at the very top of the page. And then also customer service, kind of right up at the top of the page. It seems like it's a simple thing to put your phone number, your address, and your email in an obvious place on the site. And it doesn't always have to be this big and bold, but it just needs to be obvious. It needs to be very clear, either through a contact us page or through, a very clear email, get in touch kind of thing. But you don't want to be the site that does the opposite, that just makes people fill out endless forms to get in touch with you, or can never find your phone number. Like, sometimes I just want to pick up the phone and need to talk to you, and don't make me jump through hoops to do that. It's kind of one of those back to basics things, but it's something that we still see folks struggle with. Like, where is your phone number? Just find your phone number.
And folks clicking into a contact us form, that will cause abandons. So you have to balance your ability to answer phone calls or answer chat. Another example of this is often we have smaller business customers who want to have the live chat feature on their website. And that's a great idea if they are ready to fully support that. But it's a bad experience if there's a chat feature and a chat bot that's, you know, animated and waving from the corner saying, we're ready to help, let us know how we can help you. You fill out the first thing and then it tells you, oh, sorry, there's nobody here right now. It's better to just have, in that case would be better to just say, here's our office hours and here's our phone number and email address.
Okay, number 6, simple navigation. So I'm going to show this one full screen. So Sonos is a high-end audio brand. And so their site looks like a high-end brand. But what I love for this example is how simple they have made their main navigation. Just 3, shop, learn, and support. And then as soon as you click one of them, you get more options. And so it's one of the traps that we see a lot of folks fall into is complex navigation, where just too many options are visible at the same time. And so there's lots of studies that actually show people are good at making a choice or discerning between about 6 or 7 choices. Once you get over that number, it starts to be cognitive dissonance or cognitive overload. It's too hard. I struggle to really figure out where I want to go. So really simplifying down that navigation has lots and lots of benefits to just helping people navigate your site. And I just love how they've done it. You know, learn. Okay, I get the options behind learn. How easy to use. You know, shop. I get the different items that they're selling. And again, understanding we all have different kind of complexities in the sites that we're building, but it's an important kind of tenet to always come back to. And I want to show a couple of examples of how folks are doing this. So on the good side, sf.gov is really simple up at the top, services and departments. And what they have done is they've just made it an alphabetical list of departments, but it's very spaced out and, you know, clear and logical. It's almost like the physical analog of going into a building and looking at a directory of services. This example is it's simple, but it's also mobile friendly. So when you make it to the mobile size, it, you know, comes down to a single column and lots of space around each item for my fat thumbs to manage this. And, you know, there's lots of ways you can do navigation design, and this is only one example. The Sonos one is another good example. But you see, you know, even though I do have now more than 6 or 7 options on the page, it's logical. It's a progression. It's alphabetical. I can understand and kind of digest as I go along. Now, the bad example, this is my son's school district, Lake Washington School District. I have had to navigate this site a few times recently because obviously we're all in remote learning and having to figure out schedules and, you know, how things are going to work. So this is, their main page isn't quite this bad, but when you click into, you know, one of these sub-navs, the sub-pages, you get this massive bank of links. And again, kind of showing me everything at once, breaking the rules that we just talked about. And you can kind of see it's overwhelming, even though this also is in alphabetical order. For just that kind of crunching it in a small space and needing to show it all at one time is a classic example of, it's overwhelming. You know, I don't know. It doesn't need to be
visible the whole time.
Right.
That's one of the key takeaways here is that you give people an opportunity to tell you why they're on your site, and then let them, by telling you they're clicking or they're navigating, and then show them the choices under there. There have been some reports of an oversteering related to how many clicks away from the home page something is. I think that this kind of overload of navigation has resulted from that sort of misinterpretation of that signal, that if it's more than 3 clicks away from the home page, people are going to give up. They're not going to give up if they feel that they are on the scent of what they want to get to. If they feel like they're continually progressing toward, yep, I wanted to know about teachers. Yep, my son is in elementary school. Yep, I'm at this school. They're perfectly willing to follow a trail, and it's less important how many clicks it is, that they have a strong signal that they're honing in and zeroing in on their goal.
And contrast this, kind of overload back again with this, where like you said, Susan, I'm clearly on the right scent. Like I want to shop, so I'm gonna then, okay, now I'm gonna drill into the things that I want to shop for, versus everything visible all at once, and I just kind of have to parse through, where do I want to go. So sorry for calling out my son's school, but guys need some help. Okay, number 7.
Number 7, provide clear calls to action. So the takeaway here is to focus attention on your primary offer. MailChimp does a really good job of this. And again, they're a fairly simple ask. They want you to subscribe to MailChimp. So there are 2 choices here that are very well called out. In the frame, there's just one big ask. We help small businesses do big things. Pick a plan. And then right at the top of in the global navigation, sign up free. If I have not yet signed in to MailChimp, I'm going to see that on every single page. So on all their landing pages or all their sub pages, sign up free is there. And their design language is, they have that nice yellow, and they have their calls to action are treated the same way. You'll notice the 2 buttons have the same visual treatment. So that it's a very learnable interface. When they have a call to action, it's going to be one of these teal colored buttons with white text on it.
And too often where we see people, having multiple button designs or, multiple call to action designs that just are confusing and competing, and that simplicity of, there's a big main one right in the middle of the page, and then there's the secondary one, which is up in the nav. Love it.
So one of the things that you'll notice is all of these buttons that we're showing as good examples, and even the bad example ones, they start with an action verb. So it's really important for the button to say what is going to happen, and it's acknowledging the power of the user to take the action. Sign up, start your free trial, pick a plan, log in. These action verbs actually help the user feel that they're in control, which is a nice way of calming them down and making them feel in control. So on the left here, Hulu, I think, does a wonderful job, again, keeping the page and the design and the ask very, very simple, but they've crammed a whole lot of information to support their main call to action, which is start a free trial. It tells you the value statement. Watch thousands of shows and movies. That's the value statement. And then it has the price right there, $5.99 a month. Everybody's interested in the price. And then it tells you a little bit of extra. It's setting my expectations as there's going to be some upsell of HBO Max, etc. Start your free trial. So, and another thing that is really nice to do with a main call to action like this, they have left their main hero call to action, the thing that they really want people to do, nice and big and has primacy on the page. The folks that are already members can log in at the top right. That's following a pattern that most people expect. So that's also good. And then I want to talk just for a minute about secondary calls to action. Sometimes the big ask that you're making is not the only thing you want to offer people, and that's fine. But make the big ask the big thing with a lot of white space around it, and signal to people its importance with the size. But then at the bottom on that stripe where Hulu is in green and it shows you the Disney Plus and the ESPN logo, there's a secondary call to action there. And notice that it has a secondary treatment in that design language. Remember, MailChimp had their call to action buttons as being teal with white. In Hulu, their design language is a little bit more subtle. The main call to action is white reversed, and then that outline thing, it just looks less important, but it's still very visible. And if I'm here looking for Disney Plus, my eyes are going to go to that link. So the balancing act here is it's not competing with the main call to action. It is in addition to, and it's placed below so that if the main call to action didn't do it, I have a chance of getting their attention on the secondary, as opposed to the thing on the right. I'm going to pick on my San Antonio Business Journal. I love them. I speak at their events. They provide me a lot of good services, but there are so many calls to action on here. But let's look at what the primary one is. The most important thing on this page is an ad for a competing product. So this is where I understand San Antonio Business Journal has to sell ads to make money, but they have given away the prime, not just the prime real estate, but they haven't imposed any guidelines for the ads that you can actually have guidelines for the ads that make the call to action not look like as much of a in-your-face thing as this is. So I think they're failing to keep control of their own property here to a degree. Now, let's go on to the next page for just a second. I want to take back my throwing shade on the business journals a little bit. So when I click into an ad, an article, which is one of the main reasons I'm probably there, I do get a San Antonio Business Journal call to action. They're trying to pitch me to subscribe. I'm already a member, so I would have to go down and click sign in. But that works. I understand why they need to do that. So every single article makes this pop-up come up. The bad news is that on top of that, just when I was trying to click, I'm already a member, I'm ready to log in and read the article that I've already told you I want to read, this thing on the right popped up, and it was pitching me for yet another newsletter on top of their own call to action, which was in the way of me getting to the content that I've already paid for. So this is why I think this is not the best example of call to action.
Number 8, I think it's become pretty clear that we need to be mobile friendly. It's not a new trend. I picked Yale because they're a really good example of a site that just looks clean and elegant at the mobile use case. And I know this isn't exactly a mobile use case, but I can't, show you my phone. So it's important to be looking at your sites and our sites that we work on a phone regularly, because the traffic is going in that direction and has been going in that direction for a while. So right now, 50% of US web traffic is on mobile. Internationally, it's a little bit higher. It's more like 57%. And the chart is only just going in that direction. People are doing more and more things on our phones because we always have them with them. And, it's becoming an expectation that I can just pull out my phone wherever I am and look up something, or, do whatever the task is that I need to do. But, this is a great example of a mobile responsive site where the navigation shows on the desktop, but then on the mobile, it crunches down into the hamburger icon. But again, very clear. This is, again, a design language that has become a standard. I know that that's going to be a navigation behind that. But when I have a larger screen, the site is taking advantage of that and showing me more options. If we don't have a mobile strategy yet, it's way past time. and really taking it seriously in terms of being mobile friendly. Yes, there are a couple of examples that don't need a mobile strategy, but very, very few.
And speaking of SEO, Google's algorithm rewards sites that are mobile friendly and responsive or have a mobile alternative.
All right, 9.
All right, here's where I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into how we structure Firecat's content strategy. It's really important for your website and your digital presence to offer fresh, valuable content. This is why we do Firecat First Fridays. It's good for you guys and it's good for us because it is a monthly rhythm that we have committed to. It's very easy to put off the things that we know would do well for our own marketing, but by putting a stake in the ground and saying we are going to have an event with valuable content every month, and it's up to me and Tom and Matt and Chris to find either somebody to come talk to our audience, or we're going to talk to them ourselves, but somebody's going to hold this event. It helps the team stay up on trends. We need to be studying what the latest things are with accessibility, with SEO, with remote usability testing. We cover things that we care about and do. So we are creating fresh, valuable content that flows through not just our website, but also our YouTube channel, our Facebook, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, and we're repurposing them. So you'll see this is a snapshot of our homepage. We post the upcoming Firecat First Friday. This one's today. And then we post the replay so that people who missed the session could come. And the terms like 10 things websites should do for users, websites and users, those are good keywords for Firecat. Amazon store, that's good keyword for Firecat. Complex website navigation, those are good. So we're building in to our own content strategy some freshness. And we hope that you guys enjoy the content and you'll share it with other people.
Nothing turns me off faster than seeing stale content, right? The reverse. When I come to a site and the first thing is from 2015, like there's no way that I'm going to trust anything that I find on that site. And that's that's an extreme example, but it is true. And you guys know this in your own interactions. When you go to a site and you see just really stale old stuff that hasn't been updated in forever, it hurts your trust in what this site is offering you.
If you have not seen a user of JAWS, which is a website accessibility tool that reads websites out loud to someone who has visual deficits, it's really fascinating, and I will send you the link after this. But my point here is that websites can be made accessible to people who have vision, hearing, or mobility or cognitive deficits. So people who are blind or deaf or they have to use a breathing tube like Stephen Hawking to be able to surf the web. If you remember Stephen Hawking, he used all kinds of accessibility additions to his life to allow him to participate. The temptation is to think, for businesses especially, that the number of people who are in your target market that need these accessible aids is small. But let me help you out. We're all going to be needing some of these accessibility tools some of the time. If you think of yourself when you're out and about and trying to use your phone to find the website of a place that you're trying to get to, or find the phone number of a doctor's office when you're lost, you might be out in glare. You might be out in wind where you can't hear very well. Or if you're watching a video, you might be in an office or a library or a school that you need it to be closed captioned so that you can still consume the video and you don't have your headphones with you. So for things like mobility impairments, if you've ever had your wrist in a cast or in a brace, or you have trouble seeing because you've been to the eye doctor and they dilated your eyes, we're all, if we're lucky, going to live long enough that we might have vision problems related to aging, and we might need to be able to make the text bigger. So this is another thing that Google and other search engines reward people for being accessible. And Firecat makes it a point of studying up on this so that we can code websites to be accessible. Another really big benefit to this, if you think about it, in order to do search engine optimization, the search engines have crawlers, and they go onto your website and crawl your content. If it is not made accessible, SEO doesn't work, because the Google crawler and the other crawlers are, if you think about it, blind and deaf. So if you don't tag your images, if you don't use headings, if you don't follow these rules, you're also really hurting your SEO.
And the reason the video is so powerful, if you've never watched a participant kind of navigate with a reader, is it's so eye-opening to see, you know, how this interaction flows. So the reader is reading, you know, for example, the header of the page, and then it'll say body content, and it'll read the body content, and then it'll say this is a link, you know, and it's amazing to watch someone interact with this, because they're you know, they've had to adapt and get used to this. But when your site makes it extra hard for them, it's, you know, it's not only important for government. Obviously, government knows it's important because it's a mandate that all government sites will be accessible, but it's also important for every business as well. So it's not just about the benefits for SEO, which are crucial, but it's also about making sure that your site is accessible for everyone. And you know, if you really frustrate any user, you know, they're gonna tell people. They have a network of folks, and that's just kind of how it works in today's world.